watch this.
All right. With wild claims about election fraud also comes claims that are centered more in reality. One of those mistakes is being called out in Ada County, which is the perfect time to dive into what an election mistake actually looks like and how they're fixed. Highway 55 was closed for more than 2 weeks as crews worked to clean up a rock slide. During that time, a lot of people, including us, had to go the long way around. So for everyone asking, we're taking a look at Highway 55's reopening. A fond farewell in McCall, we're taking you up to the Pancake House for a final supper of sorts. Oh, you're going to want to stick around to the end of our show today. We got a lot of things in store for you, but we'll start with this, a big question. Can we trust our election results? It's a major question that's been debated in our country very publicly since the 2020 presidential election, and I'll cut right to it. Major claims about election fraud and manipulation are unfounded from that election and do not have the evidence behind them to support such claims. This is not to say, though, that every election runs perfectly, and it's important that we highlight what actual election mistakes look like and the impact they have so that everybody understands the scope and how the system works. Now, there are loads of people that came out really strongly in support of American elections, as they should, but some went a little too far in their defense, boldly saying that our system is perfect and there are never issues with it. It's really a great system, but it's not perfect. It is close, but it has a human process as a part of it, and human processes are prone to human errors. Not massive conspiracy errors, but errors that people like you and me can understand in plain, simple language. It brings me to a tweet that some of you sent us over the weekend and today from Governor candidate Ammon Bundy. It says this, quote, "Attention Meridian voters. Ada County Clerk Phil McGrain knew the absentee ballots were incorrect before the election, but he hoped for a landslide so it would not matter. However, it came down to 56 votes." End quote there. And we talk a lot about election integrity on this show, and it's important that we talk about this claim because it is true. There was a mistake made on ballots sent out this past cycle, but the mistake made may not be as dramatic as you assume. So in the spirit of transparency, we went to the source, Ada County Clerk Phil McGrain, to talk about the mistake that was made and how it was addressed. He explains the mistake centers on how candidates were listed on the ballot, those absentee ballots. And we've talked about this previously on the 208, but if you missed it, candidates in many political races here in the state of Idaho, they're listed on the ballot in a random order on the ballot so that it keeps things fair. Some research says that it does matter who's listed and whatever. Some more research says the whole thing doesn't matter at all. But the candidate order varies from voting area to voting area or district to district. In one city council race, seat 6 in Meridian, the 3 candidate names were not mixed up properly across all ballots like they should have been. It's a practice that is not just done in Idaho, though. No, we don't just do this to do it. It's actually a part of state code. Here's Phil McGrain.
In this particular election, we actually discovered an error in the middle of October after we had already mailed about 2,000 absentee ballots countywide. And given that we found the error, we tried to do everything we could to remedy it. So first and foremost, the error was in all ballots at that point in time, and we spent about $15,000 correcting it to ensure that all of the election day ballots and the early voting ballots would be accurate and the rotation would be exactly the same. So candidate names are always going to be the same, but really that rotation issue. The issue with the absentee ballots is we had already been mailing a large volume of absentee ballots, and we were trying to figure out what is the best solution, sending out duplicate ballots so there would be numerous duplicates all throughout the county, or trying to address the issue in the event the race was close, as it turned out it was, and just disclosing it to the candidates and working with everybody involved to make sure we could remedy it as best as possible. And we were able to narrow the scope of this to just a small selection of the overall ballots. Overwhelmingly, the ballots that went out in the election were exactly the right way, and all of the ballots had all of the candidates' names and everyone had equal opportunity. It's not like there was some anything interfering with somebody's ability to vote for a candidate they wanted to choose in this particular race.
I don't want to make excuses for you or your office, but mistakes do happen in elections, and I thought it was interesting that we highlight something like this to show what does an election mistake look like compared to wild election rigging claims. I know that the way you explained this, you weren't able to manipulate this race. This has nothing to do with your political leanings.
Oh, not at all. No, this is actually just a setting. It's a computer setting. in which there was the number 2 where there should have been the number 3 in terms of how many candidates were in the race. The computer determines that rotation to make sure it is evenly distributed through our software. It was just a minor error by a staff member. Of course, it certainly has implications. I actually do think this really highlights, when we talk about the integrity of our elections and making sure our elections work well, is making sure that we are open and transparent about everything we do. This is a good example where a minor error may have occurred, but we wanted to make sure that the candidates knew what had taken place. So my having a phone call with the candidates as well as notifying the Secretary of State, I actually think shows just how robust our system here is in this state, because we do know these things. There's certainly no effort to hide anything in this process. We want to make sure we're open and disclose with everybody so that it is a fair election and that everyone can have confidence in the results, particularly the citizens of Meridian who are the ones who headed to the polls to vote.
Meanwhile, Mr. Bundy says he's very serious about the situation, and he appears to be filing a legal suit in court over it. There's a form on his candidate website asking people who are interested to sign up to file with them in court to seek another full election for City Council Seat 6 in the city of Meridian. Now, Clerk McGrain has been and continues to be happy to settle this in court, he says. There are, however, some time limitations on the situation. Those statute of limitations, as we call them, have expired, so it is wait and see to see where this one goes. Sticking with elections, how about this? A candidate running to be the next governor of Idaho says he has raised over $25,000 for charity. The condition for the donation goes as follows. Current Idaho Governor Janice McGeehan, who is also running for governor, must accept his invitation for a live debate challenge. Mr. Ed Humphreys, a self-described constitutional conservative and Republican candidate for governor, wrote on his Facebook campaign page that there are 3 conditions that he has for McGeehan and this big donation. He wants the lieutenant governor to accept his debate by December 20th so they can gather all the donations and get them going before Christmas. He wants the lieutenant governor to agree to participate in an hour and 30-minute debate before January 14th of next year. And he says he's decided that local radio host Kevin Miller will moderate the debate. Humphrey says, though, he's open to adding more moderators if the moderators are mutually agreed upon by both candidates. Now, Humphreys explained why, outside giving to charity, why he wants to do this.
We would love nothing more than to see a live debate, because in all actuality, we have to whittle down the field. There has to be one candidate.
He's not kidding, because there are a lot of candidates out there, especially for the Republicans in the race for governor, and the voters have a lot to consider. Debates are a great way for them to see everything in live action. Now, right now, there are 8 Republican candidates and the incumbent, current Governor Brad Little, assumably in the race. Now, Governor Little has not officially made an announcement about him running again for governor, but he is fundraising according to public records, so we'll leave it there. Of note, though, there are also 3 Democrats on the other side of this race that have filed so far. Now, I've spoken with Idaho voters in recent months about their desire to see debates between the candidates for major offices like governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, etc. And a popular question I've personally had in recent months, really since the fall, is Channel 7, is KTVB going to be holding any of the debates so we can watch candidates exchange their ideas so that we as the voters know who to vote for? And to answer your question, the short answer is yes. Our team is working to put those debates together as we get closer to the May primaries when we're hoping to have them. For decades, Channel 7 has hosted major statewide debates, and they're very, very important. For those of you asking, well, who gets to be in your debates, we actually have a short list of qualifications that we tell the candidates you have to meet these qualifications to meet the debate. A lot of them does run around fundraising goals. We'll talk about this as we get closer to the May primary. And we'll just stay on topic here on Monday for you. We have 35 days until the new legislative session starts back up again, but we are just counting down those days till early January. Before the start of the session, though, members of the House Ethics Committee, they met today, and likely they're going to be meeting tomorrow. We know they're meeting tomorrow. They were talking about revising House Rule 45. You may sound familiar to you. This is also known as the Committee on Ethics and House Policy Rule. Now, it's something that chair of that committee, Sage Dixon, says they've been wanting to look at over the years and revise it, but they just never got to it. But after experiencing what Representative Dixon called the full bloom of the rule this past session, The committee decided now is the time to talk it over and bring their ideas to the table on House Rule 45. Now, right now, the rule reads like this. The committee is made up of 5 members, the House Ethics Committee, 3 from the majority party, 2 from the minority party. There were also 2 alternates selected. The Speaker of the House appoints the chairman of the committee, and that person is the one that receives any ethics complaints inside the State House. Now, that complaint must contain at least one of 5 listed allegations and provide the name of the lawmaker in violation and evidence that the rule was broken. Now, and the complaints are to be kept confidential until the committee finds probable cause that a member committed misconduct at the State House. So that's the current rule in a nutshell. As you all likely remember, though, lawmakers heard not 1 but 2 ethics complaints this past year. That includes complaints against former Representative Aaron Von Ellinger and Representative Priscilla Giddings. Now, Von Ellinger resigned before the committee announced its findings, and Representative Giddings was eventually censured and lost one of her committee assignments. Today, part of the debate inside the House Ethics Committee focused on whether or not meetings with lawmakers should be kept confidential or should the probable cause be found.
The larger issue of confidentiality, I still would like to discuss that as far as, do we want this to be a closed effort up until whatever happens to the member? Do we even need a public process?
The question for me is transparency so paramount that we must put ourselves through a public spectacle as we did every time those facts reached the point of we're going to investigate further?
Do you think if this was all done in private and Representative Von Ellinger, there was the same recommendation, Representative Giddings the same recommendation, do you think the body and you as a member would not have even been more suspicious that, oh, they hatched this plan up behind closed doors, all in private? This was about getting, I think the term was conservative Christian veteran lawmakers. This is what they're going after. It was transparent. At least everybody got to see whether they liked the way it was conducted or not.
So no decision was made after extended conversation today, and members of the committee will pick up the discussion again tomorrow. They are hoping to have something put together by the start of the session so that it can be debated, hopefully passed and put into place relatively early. It's wait and see, though. Before they shut their doors for the final time, we headed up the mountain to enjoy one last cinnamon roll at the McCalls Pancake House. As it turns out, a lot of you did the same, so we're bidding farewell to this iconic Idaho staple. Yeah, we're sad too, but we're looking to tell more Idaho stories. Do you know one? Maybe it's a longtime favorite closing its doors or a brand new Idaho adventure we should get ready for. We want to know, so text us anytime, including right now. 208-321-5614. Just be sure to include your name in the hashtag the208 so we know who and what we're talking about. We're going to share a few of your messages on air at the end of the show.
Minutes away, our exclusive look at the next generation.
It was the longest running restaurant in McCall. In 1949, the Pinecrest opened, a small roadside restaurant in what was then a small mountain community. The Pinecrest became the Pancake House, and by the end of the last century, it had outgrown its humble beginnings and moved into a building fit for its reputation. That era ended yesterday with the last pancake being served, the close sign put out for the final time. Brian Holmes and photojournalist Kevin Esslinger dropped in for one of the final breakfast shifts last Friday to hear what the Pancake House meant to its longtime owners and longtime customers.
Heading into McCall, it's hard to miss the Pancake House.
The Pancake House is an icon in McCall.
It's the staple of McCall.
And just a peek at the parking lot,
Good morning.
or a look at the line inside,
Just gonna be about 15-20 minutes. Is that all right?
tells you not many have.
Come on in here.
Perhaps it's the plates,
And your piggies in a blanket.
Oh my goodness.
or rather, the size of them.
It's big.
From the platter-sized pancakes
Yes, right here.
to the oversized cinnamon rolls.
Yes.
Tables aren't the only things filling up around here.
Bonnie and George have just been absolutely amazing in running this place all these years. Both of those?
Bonnie and George would be the Bertrams, who have owned the Pancake House since it was, well, an actual house.
It's an old house that was built on ties.
It was a building the Bertrams bought 43 years ago.
Well, we moved here and had to buy ourselves a job.
Those days remembered by customers these days.
And the women's bathroom was so cold in the wintertime.
It was never designed to take the beating we gave it.
So they built another one. And in April of 2002, the Pancake House had a new 11,000 square foot home with 6 grills and a dining room to fit 200.
White wheat or sourdough toast.
Next spring would have been their 20th in this throwback-looking lodge.
The meal comes with the bacon.
But the Pancake House won't even make it to this winter
It's been wonderful.
because the Bertrams
Thank you.
are going to finally retire.
In our 70s now, it's time to be done. You know, we've been doing this for over 40 years, retired.
A day many could see coming.
It doesn't make it any easier.
So why not just let someone else run the restaurant? As George explains,
Well, we tried for 4 years to sell it as a restaurant.
and there weren't any takers. But just the building? Well, that sale closed the 1st of December.
It's kind of a bummer, really.
Which means the Pancake House will be closed
And
for good.
I want to cry.
A sad day for sure
I'm gonna miss it.
for the regulars.
I'm really gonna miss it.
In the boat.
For the Bertrams,
Well, we're just going to kind of take it day at a time.
and their nearly 400 loyal employees they've had over the years.
I don't think Bonnie and George understand what it's meant to everybody. Almost all of us have family that have worked here.
They've worked here for so many years that they're like, you know, you get used to seeing them in the morning and then you won't see them anymore.
But it will give Bonnie maybe something to look forward to.
You know, the reality of it will be sleeping in on Monday mornings, which I haven't done for years.
George?
No.
Well, he won't miss coming to work either.
Every day for 40 years is, I think I've come through the door enough. When you get to that point, you kind of realize that the days are numbered and there's still things you want to do in life. And now we're going to get a chance to do that, hopefully.
So what now?
I don't know. That's what we've been asking.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming over the years. Thank you.
What will McCall be like without the Pancake House?
Probably going to find out here pretty soon. Thank you very much.
And there were tears in her eyes.
I think there's going to be a void.
Bye-bye, folks. Have a great day.
Brian Holmes,
They'll never replace this place.
Idaho's News Channel 7.
Well, the Bertrams say aside from sleeping in, they plan to spend some time traveling to see their family scattered across the country, something they say they've neglected a bit all these years. The Bertrams tell us that most of their employees have another job lined up since there are a lot of places looking to hire in McCall. There'll be an auction of all equipment from inside the Pancake House that is scheduled for December 17th and the 18th. While there isn't official word on what the new owners plan to put there, we do know it will not be a restaurant. A beautiful scene. And for those of you who head up to the mountain locations like that regularly, you may know how big of a pain it is when Highway 55 is closed. You got to go all the way around. Now, first, for road work during the summer this past summer, and then more recently, there was a rock slide on 55 that covered the road near Smith's Ferry. So for 2.5 weeks, drivers had to go the long way to get up and around to McCall, but no more. Today, Highway 55 finally reopened, so you can all rejoice. But the question is, what happens to all the debris that was cleared? And Gary actually texted us today wanting to know that. He says, where do they dump the rock removed from the Highway 55 work near Smith's Ferry? How many tons removed for the entire work? That's a great question. They're up there working for a long time. Just to give you some perspective, this is what the rock slide looked like. You can see just how far that rock slid into the road right there to the center lane. That's a lot of work there. So we reached out to the Idaho Transportation Department, and they tell us that they estimate anywhere between 30 to 50,000 cubic yards of large boulders and dirt fell in that slide. So if a regular sized pickup truck can hold about 3 cubic yards of debris, it would take 10,000 of them to hold all the rocks that came down. So the good news, ITD says that they were able to repurpose most of it. We're going to show you a look at the road as the crews were working to finish up the retaining wall. This was just yesterday. The rock that was reused is helping stabilize the weight of the new wall, which is 20 feet tall, 400 feet long. So the road may be reopened, but if you're headed up the hills, be prepared for some delays. Crews are still working on a few minor projects in that area. As always on 55, drive safely. Before we get to your comments, a big reminder, 7 Cares Idaho Shares is this Saturday. Hope you can join us. For those of you that are new to the area, 7 Cares Idaho Shares has morphed into a 2-week-long giving campaign that culminates with a telethon and food drive on this Saturday. Starts in the morning. We'll be at 8 different locations, though, across the Treasure and Magic Valleys, so come visit us. You can join us from 8 until noon at any of the locations listed on your screen. Your favorite Channel 7 people will be out and about. You can drop off any non-perishable food items or cash donations at the locations on your screen. And thank you to all of you at the bottom of the screen that have been donating this week. Your donations will go towards 3 different charities and the charities under their umbrellas, including the Boise Rescue Mission, Salvation Armies, and the Idaho Food Bank. And if you can't make it on Saturday but would like to donate, you can do that right now. Go ahead and get your phone out. Text 7 Cares, all one word, to 208-321-5614. You'll get a link sent directly to your phone. And no amount is too small. Every dollar really does help. Here's an example for you. $1 buys at least 4 meals for Idahoans in need. So any donation seriously does go a long way. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments here. This one from Steve. He says, I think of the old adage, all good things must come to an end, even the best place in Idaho to have breakfast in Idaho. Thanks to the owners of the Pancake House and best of luck. A well-deserved retirement. We agree. Thank you so much to the staff up there for all the magical memories over the years. This is a really interesting one I wanted to share. This person says, yesterday Bob Dole died in 2018. I was a World War II veteran, went on the honor flight to Washington, D.C. where I met Mr. Dole. Here's the picture of them together from Steve. Our thoughts and prayers with the Dole family tonight. And finally, we have one more. This person says, where's Brian? The last I saw Brian, he was studying an atlas, so I don't know where he went from there. Also, happy birthday to Andy, one of the best behind the scene. We love you, Andy.